Okay. Không nha. Ừ.
ઓનલાઈન
Lượt
ઇવનિંગ બેચમાં જોડાશે એવું લાગે છે બધા. એક બેન જોડાય છે, પછી 2-3 મિનિટમાં શરૂ કરીએ.
evening batch કરી છે.
જોઈએ છે. I think we have only a few students today, but anyway, we'll be concentrating more on writing a project proposal, and you should be having a pen and a pencil if possible, or at least review through this video again. And today, in the mid of the our session, you should be ready with at least one your project proposal. Mhm. And project should be written in such a way so that all statistical tests is possible for you to apply in the this current study setup. So let us start with the what will be the headings and what we'll be writing in that project proposal. And preferably, you should try to at least collect few data uh, as per that project proposal. Before I start, do you want to ask any question? These two students who have joined, do you want to ask any question?
No, sir. Please continue.
Okay, let me start with the project proposal. Right. Now, in this project proposal, first, what are the topics which we would like to write down? Or first, we need to think of the topic first, that on which topic you would like to write down project proposal. And topic could be so many topics. Uh, as a part of this exercise, you should try to take a smaller topic, but then at a later date, you can expand upon. topic could be, for example, the eye care. How many people are taking good eye care before and after your intervention? Or you can say the physical health. In physical health, you can talk of various diseases, etc. In mental health, you can take a topic like depression or bipolar mood disorders or anxiety disorders, phobia, something like that. In social, the topics you can talk about the interpersonal relationship or the behavior of the human being, how it affects the health. And in case of spiritual health, you need to develop the various parameters to measure the spiritual health, and such as how you measure the spiritual progress of a person. So that could be one of your protocol. In generally, people take topics where you can have a one-to-one, only two variables, for example, the smoking and cancer, like that. But nowadays, such a one-to-one relationship may be a difficult. Now we know the multifactorial causation of the disease, and hence, at least few factors we should be able to take into consideration. Uh, just a minute. So, when we want to write the something, so the title will be the first thing. And when you're writing about the title, you should have done a lot of exercise for review of literature before we take certain topic. We should find out whether somebody has done it or not. And based on that, you'll be writing the abstract in a one or two paragraphs. Then introduction. Which conditions led you to do this? Suppose when we're talking about the heat stroke, you might have observed a lot of deaths occurring in the area of the municipal corporation or in the villages that led to think that I should do something on the heat stroke, and that's why you have started thinking on the topic, and then you are taking what are the variables which affect the heat stroke. Everybody don't die because of heat stroke. Few people die. Why those people die? What are the characteristics? So introduction, basically, when you introduce your topic, the reason would be why you've taken this topic. That will be the major thing in introduction. And the material method, the word which we use sometimes is methodology. Methodology is a science of methods. So when people write methodology, that is not the right thing as a part of dissertation or research. The word is method. And the budget. We'll see the subheading of the budget, but at least in budget you should write down 30, 40 headings together so that, of course, when you submit it, you may write only 10 or 8 headings. But for the purpose of planning, it should be especially in budget, the micro planning should be done. And the timeline, if your study for 1 year or 2 years, in our this exercise, I prefer that if you keep a timeline of only 2 weeks or maybe 3 weeks, that will be better. Take a smaller topic and you may collect the data of 30, 40 individuals. And if you want to do a larger study, collectively, we can do that. We are 25 individuals. Each one of you can fill up the 10 um, forms. Then we can have the larger study. Ethical issues, particularly when you are having some invasive thing or when you are spending something too much, or there is a likelihood of harming the people. When you say, I wanted to just do a screening test to find out whether how many of them have a hypertension. But if you detect the hypertension, you don't treat the hypertension properly, rationally, then there will be ethical issue. The things which patients were not aware about, you're making them aware, but you're not giving it the proper treatment, then also there could be ethical issue. And of course, the references. Please, today, nowadays, it's very easy to find out references, but The relevant references relevant to the country, relevant to the place, relevant to your the subject, 30, 40 references would be better. Now, in abstract, right, which is a one paragraph or so, you can write down your hypothesis, what your study goal, and only one or two sentences on budget and timeline, and a few things on analysis will be the main thing which you will be presenting. What kind of analysis you have done. So actually, before you implement your uh, the research protocol or research study, you should be ready with dummy tables also, so that beforehand you know that what you are going to do. In introduction, as I told you, the background, how you try to start this study, why it is so important, and your some of the review of literature will be writing over here, and your objectives. With this objective, you have started that what you will be writing, and this is now where I will be going slowly, and you should start writing. So, have you decided your topic? Even if not decided, for timing, decide something so that accordingly we can go on writing that under this heading itself. Uh, have you decided topic?
Yes, sir.
So, can you name the topic
So, study of vibration perfusion threshold in normal and diabetic patient, type 2 diabetic patients comparison.
that you want to compare, right?
Yes.
And what about you, Sandeep ji?
What, sir?
About Sandeep ji, you have decided your topic,
Yes, sir. I have decided one topic.
which is that?
Uh, it is for the evaluation of various online pharmacy stores which are available.
Hmm.
Online e-sites for the drugs. So I am comparing the individual various sites.
Okay. What about the just Sudhaji? You have decided any topic for the purpose of learning? Because if you spend 2 to 3 weeks on that, probably even maybe a 1 month or so, we can discuss out that whether it's a proper or not. Can you give me a title of your study which you would like to carry on?
So, which study? Recent
Any
new
study
one?
which you can, yeah, just for within next 3, 4 weeks you can carry out. Have you thought of any study? What is
Effect of
your
obesity.
effects of?
Effect of obesity. Obesity effects on exercise
Yeah, obesity,
in
yeah, on the
adults.
various, yeah.
Yeah.
So that you can study. So now the study setting, which place you are going to do. So I'm just, you can think of doing it, and probably uh, maybe on next 3, 4 days you can come with this. So whether you are going to this study in the college or in a rural area, urban area, in a factory or industries or in a temple or the visitors visiting the hotels, something like that. What will be your study setting? Then study design appropriate to objectives. So suppose if you want to talk about the obesity we want to talk about, then the moment you talk effect of the obesity, the automatically the people who are not obese, that also you may be taking, because if you want to pinpoint that this is because of obesity, or if your objective is just to observe what happens within the obese people, at that time you may not take the comparative non-obese people. Within obesity also you will have the varieties of people to compare. So in study design, will it be your case control study or a cohort study or cross-section study, that you can decide. So in cross-section study, you need not worry about the cases or the control or the cohort, something like that. You have, let's say, in a school, there are 1,000 students, and you want to do a cross-section study in that. So at the same time, you are taking the history. So whatever the variables existing at that point of time, you are taking, and also you can take a past history. But if you do the multiple cross-section study, then out of that you can find out the first study and the case control study also. But that won't give you the very good results. So a single cross-section study will give something. It's like a photography and then a videography. So the case control study is a retrospective videography. The cohort study with the prospective videography. In a cohort study, you can take like this retrospective as well as prospective cohort study is also possible. But in that case, you need to your define 2 years back what was the actual cohort. If you can find out that, then retrospective cohort is also possible and not that difficult. So, in design, you may also include the mixed method study in which you are taking quantitative study as well as qualitative research study. Qualitative research study is a little bit difficult because the person who has interviewed, that person is supposed to analyze the data. That is more preferable, and that's why it's little bit difficult, the uh, qualitative research methods. Now, about the study subjects. Whom you will include, whom you will not include study subjects, what will the age group, from where you will be taking, what occupations should be there, that kind of details you will be taking. And when you define in that, who you have, let's say, around 1,000 students you are taking, but then those students who are doing up and down from far away, you may exclude that. You may include those students who are remaining present for more than 80%, something like that. Because nowadays, when you choose a school, few students are only for the sake of the name. They don't actually attend the school. Same is the case for the university. Now, when it comes to the sample size calculation, all of you should be using the AP info for the purpose of sampling calculation. Right now, I think it's the right time to go to the AP info and see just how the sample calculation can be done. Continue to attend this. Yeah. Now, I think this screen is visible. And now here, the power of the study usually what you can take is 80%, or you can get a ratio unexposed and exposed. If you are having the cohort study, suppose how many people were exposed to the vegetarian diet, uh, or exposed to the outside food, something like that. So both could be 1:1 or maybe 2:1, like this. And outcome in unexposed group. That means 10%, 20% that you can write down. So if you write down this figure only, and confidence level, you can keep it maybe a 90% confidence level. So here automatically you get the sample size 225. This is how the sample size you will be getting. You can increase your power of study. If it 90%, you will require more sample. If you go for less confidence interval, less the sample size. Look at the effect of the this ratio. Then 4. It goes on increasing. If it is same, 1:1, less sample size is required. Now, let's say instead of 10%, if you do it 20%, 5%, keep it 99%, power 80%, ratio expose to 10%. So just by changing these figures, you will be able to decide the sample size over here. This thing you can check. In case of the unmatched case control study, here also you can get percentage of controls exposed. Means in this case, you have taken, let's say, 100 cases of malaria and 1:1, so 100 cases of not suffering from malaria. And you want to find out it exposed not they exposed to the environment whereby there is a lots of mosquito breeding, and another environment there is no mosquito breeding. So in no mosquito breeding is a control, and in that the 10% people suffered. If you write like this, then the sample size required is 360. This is how these you can calculate the sample. Most of the time, if you remember the figure of 400, the sample will be sufficient. There is a formula also by which you can consider these, find out the sample size. N is equal to, you can find out 4 PQ square upon L square. So, 4 PQ upon L square, not the 4 PQ upon L square means L is a range what you are likely to get. P is means suffering, 2 means not suffering. That the formula for the N, if you have a proportion in place. So that formula can also be applied and we can find out the sample size. So here you can directly utilize this for calculating the analysis if your ready-made data available. You don't want to do the raw data, then this can be used for the purpose of data analysis if you have direct data available. 40 and exposure node 10. Here, let's say it is 20. And here, not exposed, not suffering is 40. If this is your data, automatically you are going to get odds ratio, chi-square, analysis, etc. Risk ratio, everything you will get. This is the first data. If you're at other place, another data, third data, fourth data, then the summary you will get over here. This is study is something like meta-analysis. If you have data from the various places, around 10 or 20 places, but you don't have the raw data available with you, in this case, this statistical part you can utilize. I repeat, there's a tables command given over here. Suppose in our 25 students are there, and out of that, 10 students have collected the data and they have done analysis. And we have this 2 by 2 table available from all the 10 places. then you can go on adding second, third data like this, and you will have summary statistics over here. I wish that if you can really do this kind of data, that will be better. Any question on this state calc? So try to utilize this. You can even a population survey also. Poisson distribution. Poisson distribution is usually used in a very rarity. If out of 1 lakh population, there is a one metal death which you are going to have, and then you want to find out whether actual death will be how many. At that time, lambda is used, and in that Poisson distribution is used, and we can't use the standard normal distribution at that time. So we can continue right now with multiple method. We were talking about the sample size and when you don't know about the prevalence of something and you want to calculate this sample size, n is equal to 4pq upon l square. At that time, take p as a 50 and q as a 50. That will give you the maximum required sample size. Now, there is a question over here. Suppose if I have 50% people are happy, 50% not happy, then to find out from that population, to estimate for that population, we require the largest number of the sample to talk about the population. Now suppose if I have the P value is 70 and Q is 30, what do you think sample size will be required more or less than 50-50? Write down more or less. If P is 50, Q is 50, you require a certain sample size. But if P is 70 and Q is 30, sample size required will be more or less. Write down in chat box. My question I will write over here. If P is equal to 50%, we require sample size of, let's say, X. Then if P is equal to 70%, then sample size required will be more or less. Awaiting your answer. Anyone?
Sir, more.
Can anyone tell me this? Sandeep ji, Shubha ji, Meenakshi ji. What do you think?
More sample size is required.
So sample size will be required more or less if P is 70%.
More, sir.
Huh?
More, sir, more.
More. What about Sandeep ji? More. Third one? See, I repeat, if you know the 50 into 50 P into Q is 2500 divided by S square, right? But if you do 70 by 30 PQ is equal to 2100. So because 2500 and 2100, 2100 is less. So if you have 70%, 30%, you require less sample size. And L is a range. L means is a range is equal to plus minus 2 acid is plus minus 2 acid. L is equal to. And that's why if standard error is suppose 2, then L is 2 twice that. So if standard is 2, 2 into 2 is 4, and plus minus 4. So range is equal to 8. That is how we calculate the L. It is plus minus 2 standard error. So L remains the same for both of them, 2500 divided by, suppose L is 10. So sample size will be 250. And in 2100, if L is 10, rather L square is 10, then it is 210. Suppose now if I say if I have the 90%, then sample size more or less 90% and 10%. Right now, if P is 90%, suppose you want to find out whether the people are suffering from fever or not. In that, not suffering are 90%, suffering are 10%. Right? So in that case, sample size required will be more or less compared to others. Here, 90 into 10 is equal to 900. So sample size required will be still less. Now here the philosophy, what is the philosophy? That if in the population the characteristics 50-50% or almost having and not having are almost same, to find out from that requires a larger sample size. But if there's a striking difference that 90 people suffering, 10 people, 10% not suffering, then because the population, the variety is they are so much different, is not exactly similar. So much difference, even a smaller sample will be able to talk about the population. Understood this? But then the another question would be, now if the 99% and 1% difference, then what will be does it mean that require very much smaller sample? No. Here there is a reversal process occurs. When the event is very, very rare, it doesn't follow the standard normal distribution. It follows the Poisson distribution. And reversing happens because here the characteristic is too low, the frequency is too low. To find out that in appropriate manner, you need a larger sample size to talk about the population. So when the event is a rare, the cycle becomes a reverse and you require more sample size. So up to certain level, you will be able to take this formula. Beyond that, when it becomes a rare, then you need to use the lambda Poisson distribution to find out the sample size. So this is very important. And if you want to go for how the formula for the sample size they are deriving, we may spend a few minutes on that. Now, here you should be knowing that standard error is equal to, we are taking with a simple thing, this is somewhere you will be able to uh, use it elsewhere also. We are starting with a simple formula. The standard error is equal to root PQ upon N. This is the formula we know for the standard error. Now, how they derive at the N, formula for N? In that case, if you take a square of both the sides, then square of SC is equal to PQ upon N. This is how they derive. And then N is equal to PQ divided by square of SC. This is how they divide. But now in this case, what do they mean by SC? Square of SC, right? So range L is equal to what we say that 2SC plus minus 2SC plus minus 2SC. This is equal to range. So here, what you will find if you replace this with L, then N is equal to PQ upon square of, here you can say that SC is equal to L by 2, right? L by 2. In this SC, you replace L by 2, then N is equal to PQ divided by square of L divided by 2 it will take some time for you to understand, but this is how you can derive formula for N even if you have forgotten. So now what will happen then? N is equal to the square of if you do like this, square of L divided by square of 2 is a 4. And this is how your 4 will go as a numerator. So 4 PQ by square of L. This is how the formula for N is derived. So based on the range, what you want to keep it, your N will be there. So if P is more, then PQ will be less. So you require less sample size. Range. Suppose your data, you are requested to find out that how many people have suffered because of the rainy season. And you say to the municipal commissioner that 70% to 72% have suffered. Or you may say that 60 to 80% suffered. So in this case, range is 20%. In this case, range is 2%. So if you want to find out 2 or 20, this is scenario A, this is scenario B. Now tell me that in which case you require more sample size, in case of A or B. I repeat, in A you require more sample size, or in B you will require more sample size. Please tell me. Write down in chat box. I will write over here. In A, range is 2%, and in B, the range is 20%. Where do you require more sample size, in A or B? Write down your answer. See, this is required when you are doing your protocol. Your answer would be when you want to sample size, you should be thinking that whatever I'm getting, I should have some clarity about the result. It's not a question of bias. It's a question that if I want to precision, what precision I want? 2%, 20%, 30%, like that. So if you want to have a more precision, then you require more sample size to talk about the population. So in this case, you will be requiring more. So when you have a less fund, you can go with this less precision, even less sample size, and you will get the answer. And that you can do trial and error with AP-Info sample size calculation, and you will be able to do that. So this is about how to calculate sample size. Now, in this case, if you have a two sample population to compare and you want to find out sample size in that, similarly, you will be able to do this exercise and n is equal to, in that case, uh, here you have a 4pq upon L square, right? In that case, you can take the combined SC also, and in that case, it will be P1Q1 plus P2Q2 upon whole bracket 4, and then into brackets standard the square of the L square, the square of L or L square. In that case, the formula for standard error of the if there's two sample to compare, then here it would be like this. Standard error is equal to square root of, you just replace like the P1, Q1 upon N1 plus P2, Q2 upon N2. You find out the standard error formula like this. So this is how you can derive n in this case also. This N1 and N2, we presume that they are similar. If you want to keep it different, then also you can calculate the same formula N1 and N2, but usually we go with the same. If you want to keep it separate, then in EB&RM you should keep the ratio exposed and not exposed. That you can keep it, and you can derive the actual the sample size. So I stop this discussion on this over here. And we come back to the material method. Then in study setting, where will be the study conducted? Hospital, community, geographical location, or in the flats. In flat also 10th floor or 3rd floor. You can compare the ground floor versus the first or second floor. Now more and more the things are being conducted. In case of winter, probably cough and cold, you will be find more at the ground floor because of more dense pollution in the winter season. So such thing you can think of. The study design could be, if you want to evaluate a treatment or intervention, whether then instead of randomized control trial will be much better. Now, when we say that about RCT, it's not that difficult to understand. It's like a cohort. One group is exposed, another group is not exposed. That is the natural exposure. But when you have two groups, randomly you are giving the intervention to one group, other group you don't do it, then we call it as a randomized control trial. Is only one group, but you are dividing randomly into two groups, and one group you are exposing, other group you are not exposing to your intervention. That is a randomized control trial. Otherwise, the rest of the thing would look like a cohort study. In cohort study, naturally there is a one group exposed, another group is not exposed. While in randomized control trial, you have only one group, you are randomly divided into two types, and then exposing to one the intervention, other you don't do it. And the other thing is you want to look the prognosis between two things, exposed and not exposed, or treatment is already going on. You are not doing intervention, you are not doing an experiment, you are just observing the things. Let's say in Ayurvedic world, you're following the diabetic patient. In the allopathic, you are following the diabetic patients. That's the cohort study. And you want to find out the cause of the disease. At that time, initially you are going for the case control study, but later on, to confirm that, you can go for the cohort study also. And then the prevalence of the disease, that how many people are suffering from diabetes right now, or how many people are utilizing the specs right now in a college. That's the cross-section study. So that could be a mixed method study also. And the sampling techniques vary: simple, random, systematic, stratified, cluster, etc. In the probability sampling technique, when the word random is used, is in Gujarati we say game tem lai lo. Game te, whatever I like, I take it. That is game te. That is not the meaning of random. Random. This I will speak slowly, but when you say that your sample was random, you should be clearly understand that each individual within a population has an equal chance of being selected. Each individual in a population has an equal chance of being selected. If you use such kind of method, then we can use the word random, otherwise not. And to avoid various kind of biases, we should be trying to use the random method. Then it could be various kind of sampling techniques may be used. So in non-probability sampling, where you are not giving equal chance to all, that could be convenience sample because you have a less fund, you wanted to take only the people within your campus, or you have a purpose that you want to take only widow women to find out what are their sufferings. So you have the purpose to study only the widow. In the quota sampling, talked about LQS method, right? On that day, we had a various lots. Out of that, we are taking randomly, but already you have a quota was there, right? Other thing the quota sampling mean that you want to take only 5 individuals. So in the classroom, you took a fight, your quota is over, and that's okay. So in the quota sampling, you decide that only you need this many people. The moment you fulfill that criteria, you stop the takings in. That's a quota sampling. And the LQS method, in that, if you can have both non-probability and probability, from each quota, each lots, I would say each lots, you can take the randomly one individual, or with a specific agenda, the first thing I will be taking from that lot. Then the lot's quality assessment, although is usually the random thing, but if the further process in the lots, if you take the your as per your choice, as per your the wisdom, and with a purpose, then it could be the non-per sample. Then the networking of snowball method. In this case, one metal death was there, then you ask that any other metal death over here. Or if someone is suffering from, let's say, HIV, you are asking the person that anyone else is suffering from HIV in your area. Like that, snowball method, from one to you get other, then other. Here is a dog bite. Yes, anyone else had the dog bite in your area. You will speak like this. Then it's a snowball technique. In systematic random sampling, every 10th or every 5th you are taking. And stratified sampling, you first divide into strata and then you can go for simple random or a systematic random. While in simple random technique, you can use the simple random table from the simple random table which is generated by the computer, and then you can take that way. And cluster sampling, that could be the 40 cluster you can select and 6 from each one. The method of cluster sampling will be finding out the cumulative population, and it's almost similar to the loss quality assessment, the method which I have shown you. And if you take a 30 cluster, then you are supposed to take 7 from each cluster, that is 210. But the latest one is better. If you go for a 40 cluster and 6 from each cluster, taking the 240, that gives a better result than the 7 into 30 cluster technique. In multi-stage and multi-phase, there are various advantages. Suppose you are screening a 10 lakh population for the cardiac problem because sudden cardiac deaths are so many. So in that case, it is not possible to do the echocardiography all the 10 lakh population. So initially you go for the screening program and those people are suffering from symptoms, you take them. Let's say out of 10 lakh population, around 5,000 are suffering from symptoms. So you take 5,000, those who are not suffering also. And in both the group, you carry on the treadmill test, for example. Or in non-suffering, you take only 500 for a treadmill test. And from the treadmill, those who are positive, and in them, you can send for the echocardiography. And that echocardiography don't do in all, but the treadmill positive, you take go for echography. Treadmill negative, a small sample you again take for echocardiography. Why we take so small sample from those who are negative also? Because to find out whether we are leaving someone or not. That's why to cross check we are taking that. So in multi-phase technique, as phase changes, you are changing your the strategy for sampling. That is the multi-phase sampling technique. And in multi-stage sampling technique, you want to find out in India how many people are happy. So you don't take the whole Indian 140 crore population. In a first stage, you select few states. Then you in each state you select few districts. In each district you select few taluka or blocks, and from each block you take few villages. And that village you can take a whole, or you can take a random sample from that village. So that is a multi-stage or multi-step sampling technique. So multi-phase, multi-stage, so many sampling techniques are there. And in your smaller study, you try to accommodate whatever you can do. And this is a topic where when you want to fit all this study in your single project, this is something which requires a lot of discussion. And I hope that you get involved in that kind of discussion. Then probably it will be more interesting. Once the sampling is decided, your sampling frame is ready, each possible the members of the population should be listed, and then you are taking study sample. Study problem is from which you have taken it, right? And then you prepare your question, you pre-test your question, make some changes, and nowadays instead of a physical form, people choose to have the online form. But in that case, also the meticulous data collection is very important. And then analysis with help of AP Info, all of you do the analysis with the help of AP Info. And at least 2 by 2 analysis, you will be able to do it. Now, in case of budget, in this case, even though you are taking a small sample, etc., but you visualize that the same study you are going to do across the nation or across the state, and budget which you write should write down at least 40-50 lakh rupees, and that you try to submit to ICMR or any other funding agency, because lesser the budget, less likely that it will be the approved at a higher level. And here they have not written the dissemination. Dissemination of your findings should at least you should spend 5% of the budget. If your budget is, let's say, the 50 lakh, then 5% of that, 2.5 lakh should be dissemination of that, the study. So that the person who is giving you budget, that name is disseminated also along with this, your research study. This already we have now discussed. So the point is hypothesis, why you are doing this. That as far as the statistical analysis is concerned, you should somewhere mention a hypothesis. There is no statistical significant difference, or what do you think that there should be kept? Now, if you have any question, you can we can go for that. Otherwise, on Thursday. So if you have work a little bit, you can share with me that these are the things which you have prepared, and then dummy table can also be there. On that day, you should be able to demonstrate how you can use the AP info for your the study. Those who fail to do it on the Thursday can show it on the Tuesday. Now we are concentrating more on how to analyze the data, how to present the data, how to interpret the data. Because the AP Info software, where is the p-value and how it is to be interpreted, which test you should be using, standard of mean or standard of proportion, that we should be discussing. Any question? So in chat, at least I can write few words for you. You SSIP, this students grant will be there. Website then you can search for the buy rate. This is for if you have done some kind of innovation, you can seek the uh, send proposal over here. You can apply to the WHO also. You can, if it's something related to children, you can write to the UNICEF. Nowadays, you can search for investors. I'm writing because already I have applied for her startup also. That is, they give for female innovators 40 lakh rupees. You can write in name of your sister or your. So if you are married, you can write in name of your wife. You get 40 lakh. In Bayrik, you get 50 lakh rupees. And I hope that each one of you has some innovative idea for the community. So I hope that you will come with some innovative ideas, right? And all of you are welcome to join in evening batch also. We'll be starting with the introduction today's evening batch. Right? So, okay. Any question? Okay. Thank you.